What drives a hero to choose death over dishonor? In the brutal world of ancient Greek warfare, this question would claim the life of one of history's greatest warriors. Today, we explore the tragic tale of Ajax the Great, whose towering strength and unshakable courage couldn't save him from his own wounded pride. In the shadow of Mount Olympus, where gods meddled in mortal affairs, ancient Greece birthed legends that still echo through time. These weren't just stories of supernatural beings and impossible quests. They were profound explorations of human nature, dressed in the armor of divine drama. The Greeks understood something fundamental about the human condition. Our greatest strengths often become our most dangerous weaknesses. Among the heroes who sailed to Troy, Ajax the Great stood like a mountain among men. Born of royal blood in Salamis, this towering warrior possessed strength that seemed almost divine. His massive shield, crafted from 7 layers of oxhide and bronze, could deflect any spear or arrow. When other warriors fled in terror, Ajax held the line. When hope seemed lost, Ajax stood firm. But Ajax wasn't just physically imposing. He embodied the Greek ideal of arete, excellence in all things. His courage never wavered, his loyalty never faltered, and his strength never failed him in battle. For 10 long years at Troy, he proved himself again and again. While Achilles sulked in his tent, Ajax fought. While others schemed for glory, Ajax simply endured. The Greeks called him Ajax the Great, not just for his size, but for his unwavering reliability. He was the rock upon which Greek hopes rested, the shield that protected their dreams of victory. In Homer's epic tales, Ajax stands as the embodiment of steadfast heroism, the warrior who never retreats, never surrenders, never breaks. But even mountains can crumble when the earth beneath them shifts. The beginning of Ajax's downfall came with the death of his closest friend and rival, Achilles. The greatest of all Greek warriors fell to Paris's arrow, guided by Apollo's divine hand. As Achilles breathed his last, the question arose: who would inherit his legendary armor, forged by the god Hephaestus himself? This wasn't merely about equipment. In Greek culture, a warrior's armor represented his honor, his status, his very identity. Achilles' armor was more than protection. It was a symbol of supreme heroic achievement. To wear it meant to claim the title of greatest living Greek warrior. 2 heroes stepped forward to claim this honor, Ajax the Great and Odysseus, the cunning king of Ithaca. On the surface, the choice seemed obvious. Ajax had saved Achilles' body from Trojan hands, fighting like a demon while arrows rained around him. He had carried his fallen friend to safety, ensuring proper burial rites. His claim seemed unquestionable. But the Greek leaders chose differently. They awarded the armor to Odysseus, valuing cunning over strength, strategy over steadfastness. They praised Odysseus's clever plans, his diplomatic skills, his ability to think beyond brute force. The wooden horse that would eventually win the war was Odysseus's idea, they argued. Intelligence, they claimed, was more valuable than raw courage. For Ajax, this decision was more than disappointment. It was a complete destruction of his worldview. He had defined himself entirely through martial prowess and unwavering courage. He had never retreated, never shown fear, never failed in his duty. Yet the Greeks had chosen a man known more for trickery than honest combat. The shame burned through Ajax like poison. In his mind, the Greeks had rejected everything he stood for. They had declared that his years of sacrifice, his countless acts of heroism, his unwavering loyalty meant less than clever words and sneaky tactics. The very foundations of his identity crumbled beneath him. As night fell over the Greek camp, Ajax's rage consumed his reason. He decided on a terrible revenge. He would kill the Greek leaders who had humiliated him, starting with Odysseus himself. Sword in hand, he crept through the darkness, murder in his heart. But the goddess Athena, protector of the Greeks, couldn't allow such a catastrophe. She cast a spell of madness over Ajax, clouding his vision and twisting his perception. In his deluded state, he saw enemies where there were only animals. The sheep and cattle of the Greek army became, in his mind, the leaders who had wronged him. All night, Ajax slaughtered livestock, believing he was taking his revenge. He captured rams and bound them, thinking they were his enemies. He tortured cattle, imagining they were the men who had dishonored him. In his madness, he felt the sweet satisfaction of justice served. But madness, like all divine gifts, is temporary. When dawn broke and Athena's spell lifted, Ajax found himself surrounded by carnage. Dead animals lay everywhere, their blood staining his hands and armor. The terrible truth crashed over him like a tidal wave. He hadn't achieved glorious revenge. He had committed an act of shameful madness. The Greeks would mock him now, not just as the warrior who lost Achilles' armor, but as the madman who slaughtered sheep. His reputation, built over decades of heroic deeds, lay in ruins around him. The laughter of his enemies rang in his ears, real or imagined. For a man whose entire identity rested on honor and respect, this was unbearable. Ajax saw only one path forward, one way to reclaim some measure of dignity. If he couldn't live with honor, he would at least die with it. Finding a quiet spot away from the camp, Ajax planted his sword firmly in the ground, point upward. This wasn't just any weapon. It was a gift from Hector, the Trojan prince he had fought in single combat years before. Even this final act carried bitter irony. The sword that would end his life came from an enemy who had shown him more respect than his own allies. With his last words, Ajax cursed those who had wronged him. He called upon the Furies to punish the Greeks for their injustice. He prayed that his blood would bring them sorrow equal to his own. Then, with the same courage he had shown in countless battles, Ajax threw himself upon the blade. The greatest warrior after Achilles died not in glorious combat, but alone, consumed by shame and rage. His blood soaked the earth of Troy, the same soil he had defended with such fierce loyalty. The man who had never retreated in battle had made his final irreversible retreat from life itself. When the Greeks discovered Ajax's body, they were stunned. Some felt guilt for their role in his destruction. Others saw only the tragic waste of a great life. But all recognized that something irreplaceable had been lost. Ajax's story resonates across millennia because it speaks to fundamental human experiences. We all know the pain of feeling unappreciated, of having our efforts dismissed or overlooked. We understand the rage that comes when our core values seem rejected by society. Most tragically, we recognize the dangerous spiral that begins when wounded pride meets mental anguish. The Greeks understood that heroes weren't perfect beings, but flawed humans capable of both greatness and terrible failure. Ajax's story warns us about the dangers of defining ourselves too narrowly, of tying our worth to external recognition. It shows how quickly strength can become weakness, how pride can become poison. In our modern world, Ajax's tale remains painfully relevant. We see echoes of his struggle in anyone who feels their contributions have been overlooked, their values dismissed, their identity threatened. The businessman passed over for promotion, the artist whose work goes unrecognized, the veteran whose service seems forgotten, all carry something of Ajax's burden. The story also reveals the complex nature of heroism itself. Ajax embodied traditional martial virtues: courage, strength, loyalty, and steadfastness. But the changing world of the Trojan War demanded different qualities: flexibility, cunning, and adaptability. Ajax couldn't or wouldn't evolve, and this rigidity ultimately destroyed him. Yet we shouldn't dismiss Ajax as simply stubborn or prideful. His values weren't wrong, merely incomplete. The world needed both Ajax's steadfast courage and Odysseus's clever strategies. The tragedy lies not in Ajax's character, but in a society that couldn't honor different forms of excellence. From Ajax's blood, the Greeks said, grew a red flower marked with the letters AI, either his initials or the Greek word for alas. This hyacinth became a symbol of mourning, a reminder of how quickly glory can turn to grief. Even in death, Ajax left his mark on the world. The influence of Ajax's story extends far beyond ancient Greece. Shakespeare drew upon it for his exploration of military honor and civilian politics. Modern war literature echoes themes of warrior identity and post-conflict adjustment. Psychologists study the story as an early examination of what we might now call post-traumatic stress and identity crisis. Ajax the Great reminds us that true heroism isn't about being invulnerable, but about being human. His story doesn't diminish his genuine achievements or excuse his final actions. Instead, it offers a complete portrait of a complex individual caught between competing values in a changing world. In the end, Ajax's tragedy teaches us that honor and shame, pride and humility, strength and vulnerability are all part of the human experience. The greatest heroes aren't those who never fall, but those who, like Ajax, show us the full range of human potential. both its soaring heights and its devastating depths.